chapter 18, because where we left off last time, I've just got out of the book of secrets, where the books are crazy. They've all picked their book, apart from Flabbergast, so they've got to go up to the second level, or first level, to get Flabbergast's book. And Nina said, right, look, meet me by the door. Go get your book, meet by the door with the others. I'm going to go thieve from Ophelia. She's going to use her light fingers, her pickpocketing fingers, to go and get Dish and Spoon, who she thinks is still within her cloak. So, chapter 18. Nine charged into the room with the others close behind, waving her hands to clear the emerald smoke. The walls were lined with more piles of books, bookshelves, and even book-filled buckets hanging from the ceiling on long ropes. There was a stream of green sparkles as Ophelia blasted a book across the room, where it fell in a heap in the bargain bin. You have to count to 10, explained another book, patiently floating beside her. Large, puffy, purple numbers from 1 to 10 began popping all around Ophelia. Out of my way, Ophelia said, clawing at the numbers furiously with her green-painted fingernails. 9 then saw her opportunity. It was now or never. She tensed her legs and launched at Ophelia's back, reaching for the cloak fastened around her neck, but her fingers slipped, and Ophelia spun round, throwing 9 to the ground. Ophelia spun around. How dare you! She roared, her fingertips glowing green. Sparks shot out at 9, who dashed behind a bookshelf, which promptly exploded into green smoke, sending books flying in every single direction. Gah! Cried Flabbergast. That was the beginnings of magic section. He began rummaging around furiously amongst the scattered books. Wizardry for complete beginners who are utterly terrible and awful and rubbish. Where are you? By me, said another book to Ophelia. I have loads of suggestions, like breathe into a paper bag. A massive pink paper bag fastened itself around Ophelia's face, covering her eyes. Ophelia gave a muffled yell and clawed at the bag with her fingers. Seizing this opportunity, 9 leapt for Ophelia's back again, and this time her fingers grabbed the silky material, and she tore it from Flabbergast's arm with a sickening ripping sound. 9 tumbled back down to the floor, and the cloak in her hands, and then dashed behind another bookshelf. Ophelia let out a roar of rage and tore the pink bag from her face. She turned to find 9 twisted her wrists, fingertips ready. Oh, no, you don't, missus, said Kaz. She plonked her hat on her head, charged forward and crashed into Ophelia's knees, sending her plummeting face down to the floor. Try getting a massage, called out a dozen books at the same time, and they leapt into Ophelia's back, pummelling her, and down onto their hefty spines. Ophelia let out a roar of frustration and sent green threads rushing forward, exploding the bookshelf 9 was hiding behind. 9 screamed as she was knocked backwards and saw that more green threads were heading straight for her, quickly wrapping her leg and dragging her back towards Ophelia. She clung onto the cloak, sliding it along the floor and thrusting it towards Bonehead, who grabbed it in his bony fingers. Bonehead, get the cloak out of the shop, 9 cried. Wait outside. The skeleton legged it to the door, with his book shouting from his ribcage. That's the spirit! Go, go, go! Eric lumbered into view. Help, lady! He cried determinedly. He grabbed 9's arm and dragged her towards him, as Ophelia's green strands tugged her in the opposite direction. Don't you dare, bellowed Ophelia. She sent a green sparking shockwave of power along her body, which sent the massaging books flying across the room. Madam, called Flabbergast as a book flew up to his face. I'll teach you how to use magic without even using your hands, the book crowed, as rope appeared from nowhere and fastened itself around the wizard's wrists. Madam, I am not entirely sure things are going quite according to plan. Don't worry, said a cherry book next to the wizard. I'll teach you how to fly like a bird in one easy step. Suddenly Flabbergast was up in the air, upside down. Definitely not going according to plan, madam. We've got the cloak, yelled 9. Find your book and get out of here. And how, madam? Do you propose I do that with my wrists tied and hanging upside down? Eric tugged on 9 desperately. You dare steal my cloak, roared Ophelia as the green strands around Nine's leg grew in numbers and climbed higher and higher up her body, wrapping around her chest, then her neck. Nine's hands flew to her throat. Her breath was being squeezed out of her. Then I shall steal your life. A brilliant way to calm down when your temper is rising, said a book, which dropped down to Ophelia, is a group hug. That's my sort of calming mechanism. Chorused 20 open books, which all hurtled towards Ophelia, burying her in a papery, book-hugging pile. All the green threads surrounding Ophelia speedily unravelled and vanished, as Ophelia tried desperately to fight off the insistently attacking, hugging books. Nine gasped, coughed, and touched her throat, then struggled to her feet. As she stood up, her eyes were level with the little round window. She saw Bonehead, standing outside, holding the cloak and waving. "Run!" said Nine, grabbing Eric's hand and pulling him towards the door. Eric's other hand grabbed Kaz by her mottled grey arm. "Flabbergast!" Nine yelled. Suddenly the wizard came crashing to the ground, landing head first in a huge pile of books. He flustered his way to the surface. "You really are utterly terrible and awful and rubbish, aren't you?" sighed a book next to him. Flabbergast grabbed it awkwardly with his bound hands and let it cry out of joy. "Found it!" He leapt to his feet, and the ropes around his wrists slunk off sulkily. "Come on!" yelled Nine, as green sparks started to zap the hugging books one by one across the room. Nine's heart thumped as she thought about where they were heading next. They all ran down the staircase, with Ophelia's roars getting louder and even more furious. They ran onto the shop floor. There was the front door. They'd nearly made it, past the last stack of books. Nearly, anyway. The front door opened itself politely. Flabbergast overtook and darted outside. "Thank you for visiting the bookshop. Please do come again," said a gentle voice with a loud, exasperated sigh. A voice she now knew. Nine stopped in her tracks. As Eric thudded into her and Kaz thudded into him, Nine turned around and stared in absolute disbelief. A flickering, almost see-through image of a man in a brown cloak, a brown pointy hat with gingery hair, horn-rimmed spectacles. "Mr. Downs!" Nine gasped as the spell faded into nothing. "Make haste, madam!" cried Flabbergast, as he steered the cloak carrying Bonehead towards where the invisible secret shop of secrets should be. "That's Mr. Downs!" Nine cried, pointing at where the faint figure had been. "The librarian from my world!" Eric moved in front of her and dragged her along the cobbled stones. It's not your librarian," Flabbergast shouted, as they approached the doorway to the secret shop of secrets. "It's the old bookseller." "Well," said Nine, her brain whirring, "they appear to be the same person." Flabbergast stopped and looked thoughtful. He left suddenly, mysteriously. No one actually knows where he went. "I do," said Nine. The two of them then stared at each other, until an almighty smash of shattering glass from the first-floor bookshop window drew back their attention. A whoosh of furious emerald sparks cascaded out, swirling angrily in the air and landing right in front of them. They took the form of Ophelia the Unpredictable. "My cloak!" she raged. Deep breaths squeaked a book floating behind her. "Open the door!" screamed Nine. "Where is the door?" wailed Flabbergast, his hands frantically reaching for the handle. Nine ran towards it, desperately searching, but the door opened for them, and Flabbergast, Nine, Eric, Kaz, and Bonehead all ran inside as far as they could, skidding to a halt in the endless gloom. A split second later, a whoosh of emerald pieces hurtled after them into the shop, and the door of the secret shop of secrets clicked quietly shut behind them all. Which takes us to chapter 9. So they're all in the shop of secrets, all of them. Ophelia's in there, but now we just need one more person to turn up, don't we? How is it all going to unravel? How is it all going to unfold? Is it going to be okay, Or is 9 going to be a traitor to her friends? Is she going to give them up so she can be safe? I don't think so.